Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to talk another episode of Survivor 49, where it was quite an episode. We had a Survivor first on our hands. And also, we are going to be talking about the finale and kind of the full season, since we haven't been able to cover it yet, of Love Island Games Season 2. So, a lot to get to. Molly, are you ready to get started?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so let's get started with Survivor. So let's kind of go start with the Hina and Yuli tribes, just because there's not a ton to talk about with them. This episode's really focused yet again on Kele, so let's just kind of get through what we have on the other two tribes before we get into the real meat of this episode. But let's start with Hina. So we have Jason suggesting to their tribe that they all go look for the Beware Advantage together to ensure that one of them at least has it going into the merge or swap, so they have that in their back pocket that in case they need it to take an advantage over Yuli, assuming they might go in with the same amount of numbers if Kele just keeps on losing. And they go on a search, and MC finds it. She is the one to find it, and she only tells Steven about this. So she decides to hide this from the rest of her tribe, but she does tell Steven, who she says is her number one. Now, what do you think, Molly, of this decision to only tell Steven? Do you think that was the smart move? Do you think she shouldn't have told anyone, told everyone? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that was smart on MC's part. I think that obviously, like, you don't want your whole tribe to find out because then they could all, if you don't trust everyone all the time. So it's like, I think you have to trust one person in particular and then tell them that news and like, then hopefully that they don't spread it around. And so I think she did the right thing there.
Yeah, I think this was the right move. I think it's so easy preseason whenever, Mike Bloom asked them this question of if you found an idol or an advantage, would you tell anyone? And I feel like so many people, almost everyone says, no, I'm not telling a soul. I'm keeping that to myself. Some people say they'll tell their number one. And I don't remember what MC specifically said, but I do think that in her situation specifically, this is very smart because if you remember from last week, she knows that Steven is in an alliance with a few other people and wanted, or a couple of other people, Christina and Matt, and wanted her to be brought in as their fourth. So I think for her to tell one person who is in that group, I think is very smart because first of all, if that group, let's say those three find another fourth and then are deciding between MC and somebody else for who to kick off, knowing that MC has an idol could be the difference that makes them not take that move on her first and to avoid dealing with that maybe the entire pre-merge if they can help it, and then knowing that she has that. But I think, yeah, it gets her in good with Steven, who she seems to really trust. And I think that was the smart move.
Yeah, I think so too. And we'll have to see what actually happens down the line since we haven't seen a ton of Hina yet, but I feel like this is setting us up to then hopefully see something happen with this idol.
Yeah, and look, she actually does not have the idol yet. It is a Beware advantage, so it is the same thing we see as on Kele's, where she doesn't know what she has to do yet until they lose an immunity challenge. She has no clue what she has to do in order to find it. So
Yeah.
now, what I'll be very interested to find out is if they don't go to tribal until the merge, is
Yeah.
it just going to be the first merge boot where she goes to the water well and has to do her advantage? I have to assume it would be because that's the first time she's going to tribal. I guess I just assumed that that would be the case, but it would be interesting if she never goes to tribal before the merge, what exactly they'll do with that.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. I don't know what they would do. We'll have to see.
Yeah, because there might be another situation that is just about the same thing because on Yuli they do the exact same thing. Funny enough, they decide to go on a group idol hunt, and this time Rizzo finds it on his tribe. So uh, he has a different strategy though. He does tell the entire tribe. Now I think that this was a little bit different in the sense that I think he was in view of other people when he found it. Do you
Yeah.
remember, Molly?
I think he was, or at least like closer by.
Yeah, so it would have been a lot harder for him to hide that, I think. And
Yeah.
maybe if he really wanted to, I feel like he could have, but Rizzo is the type of person, I feel like the type of player who is going to be honest. And that seems to be from what we've seen so far. I feel like he's just that type of person that wants to be the, in the big tribe and have that moment of this is our idol. Like, and he said, he's going to use it to his advantage and keep it as long as possible. But I do think that if push comes to shove, and let's say they get to the merge and they want to use this at the first tribal council to make sure they have the numbers, I could see him being the type of person to be like, yeah, I'm going to use this to benefit all of us.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, I think that their tribe also seems very strong as a tribe, so I think that made sense that Rizzo decided to tell everyone.
Yeah. Now, we also see some of the other dynamics on the Yuli tribe. So, Sage starts to feel a little left out, and we get a little bit more of her backstory of her friends leaving her as a kid, which was sad to hear. And she confides in Shannon that she feels like Savannah is getting too close to Rizzo and not telling them everything potentially. That she sees her whispering and that she's not a part of it, so it's making her a little paranoid. And Shannon, of course, who is very closely aligned with Savannah, but Sage doesn't know that, just goes and rats her out to Savannah, and Savannah it surprises her. It makes her worried because she's like, I would have never guessed that Sage would have been talking about me behind my back unless you said something, and that actually started to worry her. Like, that maybe Sage is pretty good then at this game if she was able to play that well and convince her that she was on her side, and she could have told her all this information, not knowing that she was going to use it against her. So this worries me a little bit for Sage here if they end up going to tribal at all. That and who knows, we have a swap next episode, so who knows what's going to happen. But that worries me a little bit that Savannah and her alliance might be turning on Sage.
Yeah, for sure. And last week we were just talking about how Joanne was the one that was more on the outs there, so now it kind of seems to be flipped over more to Sage being more of the target, just in terms of what's happening now in their dynamics. So it's interesting to see that kind of shift there.
Yeah, and we saw that little flip start to switch where Jawan gave them went on the journey and then chose the tribe advantage, and I think that gave put him in their good graces, and then to also on top of that now have this information that Sage is playing maybe a little bit harder than they thought she was, or maybe not playing harder, but starting to maybe not trust them as much as they thought she did, then I think those two things combined are maybe starting to tip the scales a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, then let's get to the meat of this episode here, because we had quite a journey on Kele this episode. So it all starts off with Jake. He is sitting by the water and he gets bitten in the foot by a sea crate, which is a venomous black and white banded sea snake. Medical comes in, he's taken to their base camp, the survivor base camp, which we never see. And he is checked out by doctors. It's determined to be a dry bite, meaning that no venom was released, but he is still told that they are not comfortable with letting him back to camp, and that because of that, he is pulled from the game. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
Yeah, it was crazy. I felt like we got so much behind the scenes of them like taking him into that base camp and stuff we never see before with that. And at least it's good that it was not venomous. But at first it was like you didn't know. Like they didn't announce that yet to us. Like they were just doing all the care and treatments and stuff in case it was a venomous bite, but like they don't have to do it necessarily if it's not, but they just do that in case like of those precautions. And I mean, it's good to see that there was fast care for him and all that, but it was also very scary and thinking that like, wow, like what's gonna happen here? I mean, I know they probably wouldn't show us something that like turns out to be like really, really bad. So I've had a feeling like it was probably gonna be fine. But it was still sad to see that and how it ended Jake's game. I felt bad for him there, but also he had a kid on the way, so it kind of just allowed him to go home and spend time with his wife and then be there for his son's birth and everything like that. So I feel like it kind of was. okay in the grand scheme of it, but is also sad in the moment and seeing that happen, that his dream was coming to an end.
Yeah, of course. No, it was really scary to watch this. And look, you know that he's still alive. I mean, we've seen him post game, so we know that he did not die here. But it still, I mean, was wild. And I didn't even know that they had this whole book that they showed them what is poisonous, what you can eat, what you can, like what. I didn't know that they had. I guess
Yeah,
I
that was
assumed
crazy.
that they had something like that, but we had never seen that before. We had basically never seen base camp. Like, it was just it felt like we weren't watching Survivor anymore. Like, if you turned
Yeah.
on the episode right then, I would have changed the channel thinking I was not on CBS. So it's really was pretty wild, but I thought they handled it really well. I mean, I have to say, look, I know that there were some people saying like they shouldn't have shown this, that it was too invasive, and that they should have not brought in the cameras to where he was being checked out. But I do think that it's important because I think like if they didn't show that, then there would have been questions from people being like asking what they did, and like there would have been too many questions and mysteries surrounding it. So I think it's good to just be as transparent as possible. And he was obviously fine, but I think the question is, because this was not a venomous bite, because we know that this was determined to be a dry bite, do you think that Jake should have been able to stay in the game if he wanted to, or was it the right call to not put him back in those conditions?
I think it was the right call. I mean, the doctor was saying how like he needs nutrients and rest and all of that, and like you're not gonna get that when you barely have any food and you don't have anything to sleep on that's comfortable. Like I think like he in the situation that he was in, like because of Kele also, like maybe it was a different tribe, like maybe it'd be different, but like because of the situation with Kele and like how much they didn't have, I think that just added to it and just showing that like he didn't have what he needed to sustain like his health in that way and the longevity of it. Like it would be better for him to be able to relax and not be in those environments.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail when you said because it's Kele. And I
Yeah.
agree with that. I think if he was on a tribe where they had more supplies, where they were doing better, they hadn't been through such an insane first 5 or 6 days at this point, that I think, and the fact that he was about to be a father, and I just think all of these factors together, I don't think he could have gone back into the game. I just think it would have been too risky, not worth it. Go home, see the birth of your child. I just think, look, I hope that he gets another chance. I really do, because I think he deserves it. And this was such a unique, awful, scary situation. So I do hope, even though I was not rooting for Jake before this, let's be clear, but I do think that based on what happened, I hope to see him on some sort of second chance this season. I just don't think going back in right then was the right call.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like now, like seeing him, like he posted the video on TikTok with his son, like it seemed like he's happy that he was there and all that, with that being home, being sent home from there, from the bite and everything. And now it's also more people are going to be talking about him because of this. Like it's so rare for this to happen. It's never happened before that, like because of that, like that's already going to give him a leg up and people remembering him and hopefully then would call him back for another time on Survivor.
Yeah. Well, then we go straight into the immunity challenge. This was wild. Like, I was like, did I miss something? Because they went like straight from base camp to like all of a sudden they're at the
I
immunity
know.
challenge and waiting. All the tribes are coming out. I was like, whoa, okay. And they tell them that Jake is no longer in the game. All of Kelly starts crying, understandably, and because I think they really did think that he was going to show up there, that they were going to say, "Oh, it's a dry bite," welcome back, Jake, and they were all going to be thrilled. But I think that shook them a little bit to find out that he actually was gone. And then they were saying, we're gonna play this is for Jake, we're gonna do it, we're gonna win our first challenge. And I really actually thought they were going to. I truly thought this was such, what a story, for them to lose their biggest, strongest player in this way suddenly, and then have all this ammunition and all this this courage, and then they go in there and beat the all the tribes that have twice as many players as they do. Unfortunately, that did not happen. They yet again had a little bit of a lead, and this started crumbling. And Hina and Yuli win. Kele loses yet again, and it's silent. I've never seen anything like this on Survivor, where there was no cheering, no celebrations. You could have heard a pin drop in that room, or they weren't in a room. It was outside, but it was really eerie and just so weird. I don't know. It was a weird vibe, but understandably, I mean, I think all the other tribes just they feel bad for Kele. Like they've been through so much in just a week, and I get it. Like I would almost want to give away my immunity, but like can't really do that.
Yeah. No, I know. It was crazy because I was really hoping that Kelly would not lose this tribal or this challenge, but they can't do the puzzles. Like I mean, their minds just weren't there, especially this time because they weren't even thinking straight because they were just worried about Jake and all that. And like, I just think they need to have a different kind of challenge where there's no puzzles at the end and then they can win it. But with this, it was sad to see, and other tribes really felt it too because they weren't even cheering, so they knew like they were like, yeah, like this really sucks, and they were happy to not be in the situation, but obviously they don't want to give up their immunity, so they have to win it for themselves. So yeah, it was sad to see that happen and crazy that it was so silent.
And I don't even think they would want a victory like that was just handed to them. Like I think they want to earn it. And what you said is interesting though, because they have had puzzles at the end of the last. I can't even remember what the first one was, but at least the last two immunities have been very similar in that way, where they've been physical puzzle. And that is what Survivor has basically become with their challenges over these last, I don't know, 3-4 years in particular, it seems like. And that I wonder if that contributes to this disaster tribe at all, because it's like once you find, okay, one tribe is really bad at this one thing, like a puzzle. In this case, Kele is really bad at puzzles, and then you just keep testing that same skill over and over again, you're probably going to get the same results. That the other two tribes seem to have people that are just better at puzzles, or at least, in combination with, maybe starting out being better, but then also just having so much more energy, makes the disparity even greater. But I do wonder if they had different types of challenges that were testing different skills slightly. I don't mean for me to be all physical, but just something besides a puzzle. Then I wonder if you would be getting different results in terms of who's winning.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know because it is crazy how much it's been affecting them in these challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's just kind of a combination of all of that, or if they were on equal footing, whether they would be just better. It's not that they're bad at puzzles, it's just that they literally can't think straight to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah. But back at Kelly Camp, Alex, Jeremiah, and Sophie have to decide who to vote out. I have to say, as much as we, or at least I, have kind of hated the fact that we've had them lose every tribal and we're really not getting to know the other tribes at all, this specific vote was very interesting to me. I feel like this was the first tribal council for Kele where I've really not known what was going to happen. We had kind of an obvious with Nicole, with Annie, like we kind of knew what was going to happen going into that. But with this one, really no clue. I feel like it was really a toss up. And Sophie and Jeremiah discussed potentially voting for Alex in an effort to either get him out or at least flush his idol, which I think smart move. Jeremiah talks to Alex, trying to make him feel comfortable enough not to play his idol. But while they're talking, Sophie is spying on them and gets paranoid that Alex will play his idol and vote for her. So this kind of makes her mind spin a little bit of what she's going to do. So what do you think each of them, I guess, should have done. In your mind, what was the smartest move?
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing all the strategizing here too, or just like all the conversations that they had to have. Obviously, with three, like that's not super easy to figure that out because it's really only like two people you can vote for, and then one person on idol. So it's very limited odds there. So it was interesting to see them all discussing the options. And at first, it seemed like Sophie and Jeremiah were kind of working together and trying to get out Alex, or at least flush his idol. But then Sophie got nervous that because Alex would use the idol, then he would put his votes on her. So then he had to be on Alex's good side so that Alex would play it, and then also vote for Jeremiah. But I feel like because of that, like all the conversations, I was just mostly just hoping Sophie wouldn't go home out of all of this. I was like, Sophie better be safe. But I think that Jeremiah did seem like he was more on the outs, as we were saying in like previous weeks when we were covering this. Like it seemed like Jeremiah was kind of more of the weakest link in the alliance that they already formed together of the four. I mean, well, it was Jake and Alex, and then it was like the other two, I guess. But then it would seem like Jeremiah more so on the outs. So it seemed like that Sophie and Alex would be the ones to end up voting out or at least they would get out Jeremiah over getting out Sophie
Yeah.
because Alex wouldn't vote for Sophie, it seemed. But in general, it was interesting because I didn't really know until going actually at Tribal and seeing Alex also play his idol. Like I wasn't sure what was going to happen since like we didn't know about because was actually going to play it or not. Like he kept going back and forth if he should play it or not. So it was really exciting to see all that go down at Tribal.
Yeah, my original thought going into this was, oh my god, they're going to make Alex this is going to be an Eric Reichenbach situation. They're going to make Alex feel comfortable enough not to play his idol, and then they're going to vote him out. And I felt like we were kind of starting to get those wheels turning with having conversations, making Alex feel comfortable. But then, yeah, but Alex is a smart player. He's a smart guy, and I really didn't like in a way I wanted that to happen just because I thought it would be like the most exciting, interesting, like yelling at the TV moment. But the back of my mind, I kind of thought Alex isn't going to be that dumb. He's going to use his idol, right? And look, we just came off of Zach on BB27 not using his 10K veto power, and so I think maybe I was a little bit scarred from that. But yeah, he does end up playing his idol here, and as he should. And then Jeremiah is voted out. So the Sophie and Alex both vote for Jeremiah here. And for Sophie, yeah, I mean, I think this is what you kind of have to do. If you are confident enough that Alex is going to play his idol, which probably by the end, I think that she went in with the assumption that he's going to use it. I think that's what you have to do. I think you just have to assume that Alex is going to play his idol. Because otherwise, if it bounces back on her, I think she really probably was paranoid enough after overhearing that conversation that she was going to be the one to get that bounce back. And so I think she has to just protect herself from that and hope for the best that Alex chooses her over Jeremiah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that also solidified her trust in Alex, or Alex's trust in her, knowing that, like, oh, she was also on my side and voting out Jeremiah. So that will help them moving forward and working together when they do swap. Maybe they're going to be together again and then they can work together.
That's very smart. Yeah. I think that that is also a big consideration there because you do never know. Like they could be, and look, if they're two on a tribe of seven, I think they're probably going to stick together regardless.
Yeah.
But it is possible that, Alex could go try to get in with whatever numbers are from other tribes and be like, I don't trust Sophie. Like, I'm good with getting her out. And then they take an easy vote and get her out. So, yeah, I think that this was smart. I think you do want Jeremiah on your side, assuming that he's going to be going back to camp and assuming that. I mean, I guess they're just probably assuming that there's going to be a swap. I guess that's not necessarily a given, but I think that they probably figured that was going to happen. So yeah, I think everyone ended up making the smart move, and it just unfortunately Jeremiah got screwed over. But I don't think he did anything terribly wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was just inevitable. They lost again and they just had to vote him out.
Yep. Well, I'm very excited though for next week because we're not only getting a swap, which I always love, we're getting two tribes. We're getting two tribes of
Yes.
seven. How
Yay.
exciting is that?
I'm so excited. I love Two Tribes, so this is going to be great.
Yeah, we haven't had this in the new era since season
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
I'm really really excited. I think that my hope is that this is going to go really really well, and then Jeff is going to be like, "Hey, I kind of miss two tribes. Maybe that's not so bad." And then the new era, season 51 and beyond, maybe they'll go back to two tribes, or at least like I don't know.
Mhm.
I would like every other season. Like, maybe the odd number seasons we have three tribes, even number seasons we have two tribes. Something like that to just kind of, make things a little bit less predictable, less samey every year.
Yeah. No, I would love for that to happen. So fingers crossed this goes well.
I hope it does. I feel good about it because I
Yeah.
feel like now that this first three episodes were so Kele focused, there's so many people we don't know that well. And so I am just excited because we're now going to be forced to get to know some other people very well. And we're going to start to see some new dynamics, new stories. And I think that that's going to be good and feel like kind of a refresh, new start, new season.
Yes, I'm excited for that. Sad that most of Kelly is gone, but excited to see this swap and Two Tribes.
Yes, well, we will be covering that in just a few days, but let's get on to Love Island Games. So, season two of Love Island Games has been taking over Peacock for the last few weeks, ended just about a week ago here. But we have not covered it at all. We've had so much other shows going on that we just have not had time to cover it yet. But we definitely did not want to miss it. So, even though it's been a minute since it ended, we wanted to just kind of do a full season overview, focusing on the finale. But Molly, preseason, before they all got into the island, or let's start before we get into that. What were your just overall thoughts on the season?
Yeah, so I was excited to see Love Island Games. Obviously, Love Island is one of my favorite shows now. And last time I watched Love Island Games was before I even saw any season of Love Island.
Oh
So
wow, yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
this was my introduction to the Love Island franchise, which was an interesting introduction, like starting that with season one. But I enjoyed it. I was like, wow, like this is kind of fun. But now watching season two, I'm like this is more fun because now I actually know the people in it. And then there's like backstabs, kind of, not really, but like somewhat they had that this season. And overall, like the more strategy, it feels like. I don't remember there being so much strategy in season one in terms of like making sure you get out the strong people and then like building alliances and all that. So maybe I just don't remember it correctly. But I feel like with that aspect of it in this season, it was interesting because obviously like they're also there to date, but it didn't seem like that was the main focus of it. It mainly seemed like they were all kind of there to win the money, and they were pretty straightforward about that for the most part too. Like you could hear them talking about it, being like, "Yeah, like I don't really care about the love this time. Like it's just about the game and the money for me." So
I
that
agree.
was interesting, which is like obviously way different than regular Love Island because there you can only be there for the love, and then hopefully you end up winning at the end, but like it's a different concept with that. So it was interesting to see that unfold and how it all went down this season of Love Island Games.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I think that there was something about it that felt too short to me, almost. It was like, "Oh my god, it's over?" Like, "Wait, what?" And so it kind of felt like it was, I think, starting to get really good and exciting, and we were getting all sorts of drama, and then it was like suddenly it was like, "Okay, we have 3 days left." And so
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. I just wish that it was maybe like a week longer. Or maybe even just like a few episodes longer. I don't know. I just felt like the ending felt a little rushed to me. But overall, yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a good cast. It seemed like there was a good mix of good couples, strong couples, and people that were there for gameplay. I liked the fact that it was in real time this season. And we, because of that, had audience votes, and I think that that added to, I think that that's what makes Love Island unique in the first place, is the fact that it is in real time. That and Big Brother are really the only two shows that are like that. And I think that Love Island actually takes advantage better of that typically because they have so much voting involved. And I think that season one of Games felt a little weird to me because it was pre-taped, and so it kind of just felt like any other love show, whereas this to me felt more like, oh, this is Love Island, and there's strategy and games involved too.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it while it was airing
Yeah.
live, so I didn't get that aspect of it, but I did hear them being like, "Yeah, voting happening now," and then I actually was still getting notifications on the Love Island app that was like, "Vote now," and I was like, "Should I just go and look and see, like, who I should vote for?" Even though I don't know any of these couples right now, but I didn't. I didn't end up voting, but it is fun. I like that aspect of Love Island.
Yeah. And something too that I think was similar to season one with season two was that there really wasn't a format to the show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of every week is completely different. Do you like that aspect of it, that it kind of stays unpredictable like that? Or do you wish that it was a little bit more predictable in the format?
Yeah, I don't know, because it was interesting that I was like, I really don't know what's happening next. But then there were times that I was like, I wish there was another vote here instead of it just being a duel, or a vote to get into the duel versus it's just like the power couple and like that kind of stuff. Like I wish there were more. I think I wish there were more votes, I guess, even though I didn't vote. But like I wish there were more votes from America. And having a say in certain competitions or certain of like the things that they had to do, versus just who was safe.
Hmm.
But I think I don't know. It was interesting because I don't even know if they have an idea of like what they were even doing next. Like I think they might have come up with it on the spot too. So I don't know how much they could even come up with a format if they don't even know it going into the season.
Yeah, it does make you wonder that, okay, are they intentionally shifting the format in ways that will keep whoever they want to keep or get rid of whoever they may be or trying to get rid of? That they can't, look, there is money on the line, so they are held to specific standards that they cannot fudge any voting, they cannot, rig things because there is actual prize money on the line. Now, they can't what they can do is change the order of when they're going to put certain competitions, maybe when they're going to do votes, when they're going to do whatever. Like they can shift that at the last minute if they want to make certain things more likely to happen, but they cannot, go too far and actually rig the game. But I agree. I think that the happy medium for me, I think, would be having the same format week to week, but then maybe like changing one thing about it, like adding a little grenade in each week that will shake things up and make them unpredictable. I think that would be fun. But or maybe changing the way that like the first couple is picked to go into the duel and then having the audience vote for the second couple or something like that, like doing something to where it's like, you're changing like just like one factor each week, but keeping the format generally the same. Because like if someone asks me what is Love Island Games, I don't know how to describe this show, because it's like, okay, it's Love Island, but the games count more and there's more money on the line and there's more strategy. But other than that, it's just I don't know how to describe it because it's a completely different show every week.
Yeah, that's a good point. There really isn't a description to that can like sympathize at all because it's just different.
Yeah. So that I think that there's a happy medium that I hope maybe in the future they can kind of settle on. Like we like this format. It feels like they're just kind of throwing everything at the wall at this point and trying to figure out what sticks, what people like. But I was kind of hoping that that was season one that they were figuring that out, and then they had 2 years now to really like, figure out what this show is. But clearly they did not.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe season three will be the season that they'll do that. But Who were you familiar with going into the season, and who were you most excited to see, if anyone?
So I only really knew people from season 6 and season 7. And I also knew Justine because of her being on Love Island Game season 1. But I was really excited to see how Andrea would do in this kind of environment because obviously with her getting dumped from the island in season 6 and everyone freaking out about that, like she had such a memorable exit there that I was excited to see her come back. And Kendall, obviously, we'd seen a lot of him recently, so I was curious to see how he would do on another season. Obviously, he's friends with a lot of the people too. As everyone was coming in, he's like, "Yeah, hey, buddy!" Like he like knew a lot of the people. But I was excited to see them in particular.
Yeah, I there were a lot of people I did not know, but I did know I knew all of the USA people. I was familiar with Solene only because
Oh
she was
yeah,
on Below Deck this last season,
I did know
and
her from that too.
I didn't watch her entire season of Below Deck, but I know the gist of it, that she was not well liked by the public in that season.
Yeah.
And I knew Gabby actually from The Challenge. So she was on
Oh,
The Challenge Double Agents a few years ago.
okay.
And so I was familiar with her from that. I also I knew that she was recently on Love Island All Stars and won the show, just from kind of social media seeing that, but I didn't watch any of it. So I didn't. She wasn't a huge part of that challenge season. So I feel like this was the first chance that I really felt like I got to know her personality a lot better. But yeah, other than that, I think that was everyone that I was familiar with. So there were quite a few people to get to know, which I think is fun. I think that's part of what's fun about this is that you get to know some of these Love Island UK people if you don't necessarily watch that show, or you get to know some people from all these other international versions that might come back on those international versions at some point, and then it's going to be harder for me not to watch them when I am now familiar with multiple people that might be on them.
Yeah, for sure. And they made it this season even more fun because I loved hearing their accents. So
Oh
that was
yeah. That's
good.
part of that's half the fun of this show is just hearing all the different accents. So that was one of my favorite SNL skits that they did years ago where they did a Love Island skit and they were like they don't even understand each other, and then it's just all these people from different with the different accents and not understanding a word that they're saying to each other. So yeah, you get a little bit of that with this show too. But what were just some of your before we get to the finale? So excluding the finale, what were some of your any standout moments from this season? Any like we had a lot of surprising eliminations. Any that stuck out to you the most?
Yeah, I feel like when this had totally surprised me, but I knew I kind of had a feeling this would happen, and then when it happened, I was like my jaw was kind of like, okay, he actually did it. Was when Johnny decided to stand up for the box and essentially dumped Adriana there because now he was making her vulnerable and then she ended up going home but like pretty soon after that. But I feel like that moment like definitely shifted in terms of you could just tell Johnny was really there for the game play of it, and he knew that he didn't feel he could win with Andriana
Andrina.
Andrina. I know I want to say because I feel like they pronounce the I in it too, but
I
Andrina.
know it's hard,
I'll
but
just I'll
yeah,
just say Andrina.
I
Sorry if
think
I'm
that's what
saying it
most
wrong.
people say.
Yeah. Exactly. So I felt like with that, like she's always kind of been I felt like getting sent to the curb with Tyreek and now it was Johnny, and so I felt bad for her with that. But I also wasn't totally shocked. But I was like in that moment I was like, all right, this is some good TV that we're getting.
Yeah, that was a big one for sure. I think that whole like gift thing, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I almost wish that like they had made the gifts like they weren't actually physically inside of the gifts. I wish that the gift had been like a normal size because I wonder if they would have not really that would have made them wonder like what is this and not just like knowing okay it's a bombshell. Like I
Yeah.
wonder if like you could either stick with your partner or maybe they think it's an advantage, immunity, something. And I think that that would have made it even more interesting. And I wonder if more people would have gone for it if they thought there was potential that, like, oh, it's not just picking my partner over another person. It's me picking my partner over whatever, great thing this might be that I want selfishly for myself. I don't know. I wonder if that would have changed anything in terms of, only having two people that ended up going for it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like it seemed like the people who went for it were the ones who just weren't in as strong of couples, except for Johnny and Audrina. Like that one was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, well, I mean, we kind of expected it, but also that was crazy.
Yeah. For me, I think an episode that I really loved was, well, first of all, I wouldn't say that I loved because I felt really bad, but when KK and Chris went home, that to me was kind of a highlight of the season because I thought that that was just like a really interesting thing with like KK and Nicola was kind of an interesting situation there. And that was surprising to me just because I really thought that KK and Chris were like they were a pretty strong couple, and so I thought that they were going to last at least a lot longer than they did
Yeah.
in the show.
No, and Chris breaking his finger in that
Oh
duel.
yeah,
That was crazy. But yeah, that was a big one for sure. I feel like and KK was so mad too for being sent into that duel.
yeah,
She wouldn't even talk. But yeah, that was a crazy episode.
yeah. And then the other one for me, I really enjoyed Vegas Night. I thought
Yeah.
that was
I was gonna mention Vegas Night, but I was like, that's like really close to the finale, so I don't know if that counts.
yeah. No, well, we're not going to be covering like, the
Yeah.
details of it, but I did enjoy that. I thought that the only problem that for me with that was that it made it pretty easy for like the power squad to just kind of run the game at that point because all of it was just picking the couple or the person who you wanted to target. And so if you have a big alliance like that, then you kind of, unless you just play the games badly, then if you get what you're trying to get with it, which seemed to usually happen, then you're probably going to hit your target and get the people in who are not part of your alliance. So that was the only issue I had with it. But I really liked the idea of it. I thought it was a very creative idea, and I thought that it made for a pretty fun episode.
Yeah, for sure. When Toby tried to sit next to Garby
Oh yeah,
and then he had to pick up the chair and like that moment was crazy.
yeah,
But it ended up being that Toby still was a couple with Sydney, and then Sydney was mad at him and never forgave him. So
yeah.
I was proud of Sydney for that, for not forgiving Toby.
Hmm. And it seemed like by the end she softened a bit, but I guess, like, you're bound to not stay angry. It's probably healthy to
Yeah,
not.
but if they had actually gone to the exact like to the final couple, I think she would
Yeah,
have
do
taken
you think
it.
she would have taken it all?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And that would have been fun. I
yeah,
would have loved to see it.
same.
I want to, speaking of Sydney, I like the fact that there were so many X's in this season
Yeah,
because I think that's what's fun about Love Island games versus Love Island is that you have, they're all stars. And so I think you have so much potential to bring in people and their exes, or at least maybe even not exes, but maybe people who they've had drama with in the past. And I hope that we continue to see more of that type of casting because I think that's really fun and is really what part of what sets it apart from just normal Love Island, where in theory they're all strangers unless you're like season 7 where they just all really knew each other, or at
yeah.
least Shelley
No,
knew everyone.
I know exactly. I like that too, and it was interesting because we didn't get like a ton of their interactions, but like I mean, especially with when Cindy came in and was the bombshell, and say just like totally like oh my gosh, like doesn't want to watch her doing all of the heart rate challenge stuff, but with when Casey and Gabby came in and like they didn't seem like as much like they were talking or at least like had much drama. Like theirs was also more
Hmm.
recent, which was
It was
interesting.
just earlier this year, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I thought there would maybe be more drama with them, but there seemed to be more drama related to Sydney and Isaiah. I mean, there wasn't really drama, but more just like
Mhm.
conversations happening around that. So I mean, they also got their closure that they needed, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, it was more recent, but I also think because it was more recent, it's not like they could have possibly dated for a long time after the show. So I guess that
Yeah.
helps too, that it's like, okay, it was just a short-lived, like, on the island thing and we're good. Like I feel like that's kind of the vibe that I got was that, maybe they tried to make it work for a little bit outside the show, but it seemed like they weren't necessarily like talking regularly, but I think it felt like they were on pretty good terms where like there wasn't going to be any drama.
Yeah. And then I mean Isaiah cheated on Sydney, so that was gonna cause some drama. And they did it for a year after the show. So like
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah, and they were like day 1 till the end couple.
Yeah.
So that was, a long time that they were on the island together in season 4, and then yeah, they dated for quite a long time afterwards too. So that was a very real relationship that went sour that, was interesting to see. The other one I would have loved if Nicole came.
Yes. We needed that.
Mhm. And I'm surprised they didn't do that because I feel like they would have really like wanted like a season 6 couple exit. Like they would have loved to have Kayla and Aaron on there. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah. No, and Kendall was on the season for a while too, so like it would have been easy to bring in Nicole as a bombshell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if maybe they had her like set to go and then Kendall got eliminated. I don't know, but like that would have been pretty late bringing someone in.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that they just never went with her. But also, there was someone, and I apologize, I do not remember her name, but I think it was someone from season 4 or 5. No, maybe it was someone from season 3. I don't remember, but it was somebody on TikTok who said that she was like in Fiji, ready to go for Love Island
Mhm.
Games season 2, and then they just never picked her. So I think there are probably some people, some alternates that were out there that never got sent in. So whether
Mm.
that's because of a change of format, whether it's just because they needed more people there just in case something happens, I don't know, but I'm curious to know if there are any others that were set to go on that for whatever reason did not end up going on.
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting. I wish we had the behind the scenes of who else was an opportunity to be there.
I bet it within the next few months, if there's more, I bet they're going to come out because anything about Love Island is going to get engagement these days. And I would have said season 1. I don't know, maybe the people just wouldn't say anything. But now I think that somebody like that is going to come out just for the engagement farming of wanting to say that they were somehow involved in this season of Love Island.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So we'll keep an eye out on that.
Yes, we will. So let's go into the final 4 couples here and just kind of give our thoughts on each one, the season that they had as a whole, going into the finale, kind of where we felt they stood. So let's start with Gabby and Johnny. What were your thoughts on Gabby and Johnny?
I thought physically that they were the strongest couple, but as a couple itself, like it did seem like they really had a ton of chemistry. Like they said they liked each other, but it just kind of more seemed like a business relationship in a way, like of like they wanted to work together well. So they were trying to build that connection too. But it kind of seemed like the public wouldn't vote for them as much just because of what Johnny did to Audrina, and Gabby only came in really late. So and she's also in the UK. So I feel like their opportunity to make it was just like seemed like the least in my opinion.
I actually was shocked that they were eliminated. Well, hey,
Mm.
we're getting ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah.
uh, I thought that they were actually one of the couples that I felt was maybe the safest within America's vote because Johnny, even though he's not necessarily the most beloved, he has a pretty big name. And so I just feel like there's going to be people who, versus, although all of these Final Four couples actually do have a USA and a UK. So
Yeah.
that actually evens things out quite a bit. So maybe, as I'm kind of talking through and thinking about it, maybe I don't, they're not in such an advantageous position as I kind of thought. But he is a pretty big name in the franchise, and Gabby is a huge name in the UK franchise who just won a season where I'm sure
Yeah,
there was UK voting involved heavily, and she won that. And so there's going to be UK. I assume the UK can vote. Are people in the UK able to vote on the app
I
for a
don't
US
know.
season? Actually, I don't know. But the US audiences also watched the UK version quite a bit.
Yeah,
So she was just a very recent name. And so I feel like any USA, Love Island viewers who are also watching Love Island UK and keeping up with that would know Gabby potentially over somebody like Lucinda or somebody like that who maybe, I don't know, maybe Lucinda is also a big name in the UK, but I had heard of Gabby and I had not heard of Lucinda, if that, means anything.
yeah.
But I just felt like they were two pretty big names, even though maybe not the most beloved, and especially on this season. I just kind of thought, oh, they're too big to go home here.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I felt like, I mean, they made it this far though, so they did make it to the final four.
Yeah, that's true. That is
Yeah.
true. That is a big accomplishment, even in and of itself.
Yeah.
What about Isaiah and Lucinda?
Well, I didn't know who Lucinda was going into this, but I really really liked her throughout the season. I felt like she was really real with her emotions and just open and making a lot of friends or whatever, and also her connections. It felt like she was actually trying there in terms of actually building relationship side of things. And Isaiah, I feel like I feel like I saw more of him when Sydney came in. Like I feel like we didn't get a ton of him before, and also him being paired with Lucinda obviously helped out with that in terms of like his likability, I think. But yeah, I mean, I like them together. I don't think they're gonna last, but I think that in the show sense, like it made sense.
Yeah, I in the beginning I really liked Lucinda. I felt like I thought it was very funny how she clearly like did not want to participate in any sort of the strategic elements of the show. And she was, kind of having a tough time in the early days there. I felt like as the show went on, she got a little bit less likable to me. I didn't by the end I certainly was not rooting for the two of them, but I didn't have anything against Isaiah, I guess. I thought he was fine. And I didn't have, I guess, strong feelings of wanting to root for either of them going into the final four. But yeah, and no, I thought overall I thought they were fine.
Yeah, kind of a neutral pairing.
Yeah. Justine and Tyreek. What were your thoughts on the two of them?
So I love Justine. Obviously, I've watched her in past Love Island, but I feel like Tyreek, he kind of annoyed me. And throughout this season, he obviously we're saying he kind of played up that villain role. It seemed like in certain parts of like just trying to be with also the strongest female or now like also the most liked female basically in this season and trying to play that for his abilities and going far. But I kind of did like seeing them together, like in a bad way, and like not in a bad way, but like I was like, wait, like they kind of do work well together, so like I want to root for them, and obviously I want to root for Justine, so by default kind of had to root for Tyreek. But I didn't want to root for him. I wanted to just root for her.
Yeah, look, Justine is a queen. We love Justine. I was so rooting for them only because I really, really wanted Justine to have her three-peat. I thought that would have been so iconic. And I was really, really hoping that that was going to happen. So they were the two that I voted for. That I really wanted them to be the winners here. And in my dream scenario, Justine would be the one to, get the chance to steal or keep, and she would have chosen to steal it all. That would have been my dream scenario.
Yeah.
But I liked Tyreek watching him. I just thought he was so entertaining, and I think you need somebody like that in a show like this who is fully just 100% there for the money, the game, doesn't care about the love aspect of it at all. I would have been very upset with him if he had actually, ruined Justine's game and gotten her out before the finals here. then we would have had a problem. But because he didn't, I felt like by the end he kind of softened and I don't know. Do you think that he actually felt bad for what he did earlier on, or was he just kind of trying to get her to trust him?
I don't think he really felt bad. I mean, he even was talking about how he might steal the money. So, like, I don't think if he felt that bad, like, he wouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he felt bad. I do think though that at a certain point he was fully focused on, on trying to do what's best for the both of them and get to the end versus trying to sabotage Justine and get her out before then. Like I do think that he kind of made that switch a little bit after that where he was like, "Okay, let's get to the end and then I'll steal it from her." type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But luckily we didn't have to see that.
Yeah, I that would have been even harder. Like
Yeah.
if that had happened, that would have oh, I can't even think about that scenario. I'm just getting Johnny Bananas Sarah flashbacks in my head, and that would have been bad. But or we saw it on Bachelor Pad, if you remember as
Yeah.
well. Someone stealing the money with Nick and what's her name, Rachel.
Yeah.
Season 3 of Bachelor Pad that ended that show because that the most surprising, shocking thing happened that could have happened in Bachelor Pad happened, and then the show was over, and we got Paradise.
Yep.
Sydney and Toby. Lastly, what were your thoughts on Sydney and Toby?
Yeah, well, obviously they just had their turmoil just before this, like episode before this happened in the final four couples, but I feel like because it's like the games aspect of it, like they were just gonna have to work together to try to win it if they could, or then hopefully then Sydney was gonna steal it from Toby if she had that opportunity. So I feel like it was fun to see them as a couple up until the point when I was like, okay, Toby, like, why are you being this way? Because I wanted to root for them. Like, they were one of my favorite couples originally before this stuff happened with Toby. So I feel like with that, like, they they seem to have potential here to win it all. But then once the Toby chair fiasco happened, I didn't think there was much of a chance.
Yeah, I came into this and I remembered Sydney from season 4, like Sydney and Isaiah. I didn't remember a ton about her personality. I think she annoyed me a bit when she first came on this season, but by the end of it, she endeared herself to me. I really liked her. I think I understand her I kind of better now than I did. I feel like she has kind of a very dry sense of humor that didn't quite hit me at first, but now I feel like I get that about her, and so I like her a lot better than I did. With Toby, I came into the season really not liking Toby because of season 1 of Love Island Games. He had that whole speech to Sally in the finale, if you remember,
Oh,
calling her an actress and all this stuff, and it was so just like over dramatic, and I was like, oh god, this guy again. But I don't really like him much more now than I did to start the season. I feel like for a while I kind of did, and then he did what he did to, or tried to do what he did to Sydney, and it didn't work out. But yeah, that soured me on him once again.
yeah. I hope Toby does not come back again.
I don't think he will. I feel like I can't imagine that they're going to have anybody on season 3 that already did 2 seasons of Love Island Games. Do you
Yeah.
think they will? Do you think this will be like the challenge and they're just going to keep bringing some people back season after season? Or is
I
it
don't
just kind
know.
of going to be like maybe do a 2 seasons, maybe in a few years come on a third season or something like that? But
I mean, they had a lot of returners from season one on this season, so it kind of seemed like maybe they'll continue bringing people back like that.
I think they'll bring people back. I just think it'll be people who this was their first season.
Yeah,
And I don't know that they're going to have like
the
somebody come
three
on
people.
3 in a row.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that
That's my
makes
guess.
sense. Yeah.
Well, let's get into the finale then. So, going into the finale, Andrea and Josh had just been eliminated. They had that basketball game, which was, oh, that was a little heartbreaking that they held the ball just like a couple seconds too long. I wonder how long it would have been before they actually tried to throw it, like how much longer in their head they were waiting. But that was a little heartbreaking that they waited all that time and then waited too long.
I know. I was really sad for them. I feel like in that moment, like you could just tell because they were talking about the counting and all that. Like you could just see like something was gonna go wrong. It seemed
Yeah,
like with that, and I was hoping that wouldn't be the case, but they ended up with the white ball, and they were already getting targeted, so it kind of wasn't gonna work out for them anyways, just in terms of
yeah,
the power squad people. Like trying to get them out. So I
mhm.
think because of that, their fate was just unfortunate there.
Yeah. It was a matter of time. Although I think if they had made it through that round, they probably would not have been eliminated by America. So they probably
Yeah,
honestly they would have been in the top 3, I bet you,
yeah,
and had that chance to at least compete in the mega duel, and who knows what would have happened.
yeah,
But Lucinda and Josh, or sorry, Lucinda and Isaiah, secured their spot in the final 3 by winning that challenge. So the other 3 couples were up, subject to America's vote, where one couple was going to be eliminated, which ended up being Gabby and Johnny. And we talked a little bit about this, but did that surprise you that they were the ones who got eliminated here? Who would you have voted for as your favorite couple at that time?
yeah. It didn't totally surprise me. I probably would have voted for Justine and
Yeah.
Tyreek just because of Justine here. But with Gabby and Johnny, I feel like it just America just didn't like them as much.
Yeah, I think they're the ones who were kind of like the odds-on favorite, and so I
Yeah,
think any time that a couple is like the favorites to win, I think America prefers to root for an underdog, generally speaking, especially where Gabby and Johnny are concerned. Neither of them are like the most likable personalities on this season, at least. Especially, I mean, Johnny probably in other seasons as well. So I don't think that having Gabby necessarily as his partner was the best for making him any more likable than he was already lacking that. And so I think if he was partnered with Justine, I think that would have been a very different story. I think he would have probably not been eliminated here. But I think he really wanted to beat Justine and was never going to partner himself with her.
yeah, for sure.
But then, yeah, we're down to our final 3. So they all compete in the mega duel, and it's a 2-round duel. The first round is a 3-way duel where teams have to move a stack of discs from the first pole to the third pole without ever placing larger discs on top of smaller discs. So the last team to finish is eliminated. I thought this was a fun challenge, and what I
Yeah,
liked about it was that it's really anybody's game. It's not
yeah.
super physical. It's not too mental to where you kind of can guess. Okay, this person's obviously the smartest. They're gonna win. I thought this was a pretty even game.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like it was close throughout the challenge as well. So like that made it fun to watch.
Yeah. And Sydney and Toby came in last here. So they were the first to be eliminated of our final 3 here.
Yeah. I mean that wasn't that surprising. I mean it could have been anyone's game in this three-way duel here, so it just kind of made sense. But they came in last.
Yes, they did. Well, then Isaiah and Lucinda compete against Justine and Tyreek in the final round. The ring is divided into 4 quarters, 2 yellow and 2 blue. There are 18 money bags in the center. Larger bags are worth more points. Each bag in your zone at the end counts towards your total points. There were also white bags that deduct points if they end up in your zone. So, again, I thought this was actually a very fun challenge. And what I liked is that both of these duels, I thought super fair, super anyone's game. I really, really liked them. I think these are the types of things that maybe Survivor can take notes on and do kind of more creative things like this that are even for anybody. I feel like this is the type of thing that we maybe, and look, I know Survivor likes to do their more elaborate, big builds, things like that, bigger budget they have for that. But I think that, it doesn't have to be exactly this, but I just think things like this are maybe what we're missing that could get us more, less disaster tribes.
Yeah, for sure. This challenge was fun to watch, especially because it was the last one, and seeing whoever won this was going to be the winners of it, and how close it was at the end too made it fun because you didn't even know who actually won. they had to go up and count them and
Mhm.
figure it out before we knew the end result. So it was a good one to watch.
Yes. So we got our winner, and it is Isaiah and Lucinda. They are the winners of Love Island Games Season 2. So then we have one order of business left. We have to determine who is going to be the one who gets that decision as to whether they keep the money or steal the money. And oh, sorry, keep the money or share the money. And to determine that, the eliminated islanders are all there, and they have to decide whether who they want to win that 250K. So they have to stand behind the person who they choose. And they it turns out that there are 12 people who stand behind Isaiah, and only 5 who stand behind Lucinda. So Isaiah ends up getting that decision in his hands. So, what were you surprised that Isaiah was the one who got the most votes here, and who would you have wanted to have that decision between the two of them?
Yeah, I guess Isaiah just had more friends who were there to stand behind him. I probably would have stood behind Lucinda, but I mean, it seemed like they were going to share the money anyways.
Yeah, it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if really any of the other three, I would have had more of a
Yeah.
question mark. And I think it's just very unfortunate that the ones who won here were the ones that there was no chance that either of them were going to steal it. So a little bit of an anticlimactic ending there, but yeah. So Isaiah does end up sharing the money, so they all live happily ever after. And I do not think they are still together a week later, but I hope they are each enjoying their 125K.
Yeah, I actually saw a picture, or maybe it was a video on TikTok with Lucinda and Mert together. So people were
Mm.
commenting, oh, did Mert get her back? We'll see what happens with that. But now I kind of want to follow Lucinda because I actually got spoiled like before. Maybe this is why I started to like Lucinda because I was like, oh, I know if she wins. Like, I should like her for
Oh.
watching the rest of the season because I saw someone commented, well, she's 125 up or something. Like, I was like, oh, that means she won.
Hmm.
And maybe that's why people were like, "Oh, that's why Bert came back to her" or something. But, um,
Hey, we could have like another like Iris and Pepe turns into Iris and TJ situation.
yeah,
Lucinda and Isaiah turn into Lucinda and Mert again. Who
yeah,
knows?
we'll see. I don't know. I was seeing they were all hanging out like a lot of the Islanders from this season recently, so seems like everyone's still pretty friendly with each other, which is good to see. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I wish there was like more drama, I guess, unfolding on TikTok right now because I
Hmm.
wish there was more I could say. But that's really all I know is like they went to Disneyland, I think, or like something in
Yeah.
LA.
No, the only other thing that I know is just from what the last After Sun we saw that Andrea and Josh are no longer together. That
Oh yeah.
they kind of friend zoned, or there's no anything currently romantic between them from what they said. So that's really the only other update. Is there any couple who you think, like, let's say a year from now, is still going to be together?
No.
I don't either.
I don't think any of them. Well, okay. The one that I like actually thought was pretty strong, which like whenever I see Kendall, like I don't know what to believe.
Hmm.
But like Kendall and Garby, like they actually seemed like a good couple.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think it's gonna make sense because I don't think she lives in the
No,
US.
no.
Yeah,
So that's
so
why it's not going to be anything. But
yeah,
but I really thought they were cute together. Like, I think if
yeah,
she lived in, does he live in LA now?
yeah,
Okay, if she lived in LA, oh yeah, duh, the Love Island Beyond the Villa was set in LA. But I think if she lived in LA, I think that they would actually give it a shot. Like, I think that they're really cute together. I think he really seemed to like her, but halfway around the world, they're not gonna try to make anything work more than just kind of stay in touch as friends. Maybe if she comes here, maybe they'll get together and whatever. But I don't think that there's going to be anything serious
yeah.
maintaining between the two of them.
Agreed. The only one I thought like could have been was Andrea and Josh, and then they've already broken up. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know that's sad, and I really actually like. I really liked Casey and Nicola together. I thought they were very cute together, but I don't think there's going to be anything between them. But I thought that they had a cute rapport with each other.
Yeah, I don't think Casey was interested in her though. In
No,
that
I don't either, but I thought that if they had potential. Like I think that their dynamic was fun while
yeah,
we had them.
yeah. It was some entertainment.
Yeah. But that's anything else that you wanted to bring up here before we close out of Love Island Game Season 2?
No, I just hope we get some more excitement in season 3 and maybe some more structure in terms of the format. But I want there to be that live voting again. And next time, I'll make sure I prioritize watching it when it's actually airing, instead of watching all 18 episodes in the span of like 4 days. But it was great. I loved to binge, so it was great, especially when I was sick. So I'm still a little sick. If that you could probably hear that in my voice, but it was perfect that I was able to watch in that span of time. But with Love Island games, even if you haven't watched it yet, like it is an easy show just to have on, like kind of in the background. Like you don't have to pay attention for all the duels or whatever. So it's like kind of good in that sense, even the episodes can be long at times. But it's a great show, and I'm excited for the next season when we do get that with more people that I'll probably know because they'll probably pick from more recent seasons that I've seen.
Yeah, I am hopeful that I think that they will continue to refine the format a bit and in the future. I think the one thing that I also thought about is that because this season was so close to season 7. Like
Yeah.
whereas last season because they pre-taped it, they didn't air Love Island Game season 1 until I think November or something like that.
I
Maybe
thought it
like
was even January.
no,
Oh,
it
it
was
was before the end of the
definitely
year.
before the end of the year, but it may have gone into December,
Okay.
but it was
It was
definitely
definitely
before the end of the
winter,
year.
more winter time.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think was a better time because I think it felt like more even. Like there was a little bit of a break, and then we got the new season, and so it's kind of like Big Brother. If you remember, like Big Brother Over the Top aired right after BB-18. And it's just like we need a little bit of a break. Like it's like season 7 drama was still happening, and it felt very much like we just finished that season, and then we're getting another season. And so I think like if this had been like a month later, I think maybe there would have been I would have been a little bit more excited to watch each night. Whereas I think this time it's like, okay, I'm still like kind of, with Big Brother, with Love Island, it's like all these multi day, like, 5 episodes a week shows. It's like, it's a lot. And so I think like wintertime for me is a better time for a show like this, a mini season. So that's the only thing and I get that they wanted to, keep people in Fiji, like the crew and Ariana and all the, it's easier when the villa's still all up from season 7. So you kind of have to do it right after. But I wish there was some way to wait a little bit longer. But other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun. I really hope that they continue to do these, and I am excited for. It's going to be a long break without Love Island now. This is really the last thing until probably June. So I am sad about that, but excited for what is next.
Yes, for sure. We've got plenty of TV to watch in the meantime.
Oh yeah, we're not lacking on any of that.
No.
So we will keep busy, but thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back maybe sooner than we normally are with a new episode. So stay tuned for that, and we will be active on social media. So be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky, wherever else we are, at Let's Chat Reality on all platforms, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you guys so much, and we will be back soon. Chat with y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.